Hey everyone, welcome to the Cripescast. This week, my guest is Craig T. Nelson. You guys know him as the incredible actor from Coach. He is an Emmy winner. You've seen him in movies and TV, Poltergeist, Young Sheldon, The Incredibles, and he's also the star of the film Green and Gold, which debuted in theaters this past, what was it, January? I forgot, January, February, something like that. But anyways, now it is streaming on platforms. You can get it on Amazon Prime. You can get it on YouTube. And it was just great to talk to Craig. Such a nice guy, very generous with his time. We only had him for 30 minutes, but he stayed, I think, for 40 minutes. So that was very kind of him. And so shorter interview than normal, but really just good to pick his brain a little bit, figure out why this film was so special to him. And also talk a little bit about the Packers. And he did the national anthem at the Packers-Bears game this past year. So we got to get a little behind the scenes look at what was going on before and during that. So, yeah, it was a fun interview. And I got to say, Craig just did an amazing thing for this film, Green and Gold. It was a huge thing, I think, for Wisconsin to have a film shot in Wisconsin. It's an independent production. And I got to know the director and producer, Anders and Davin Lindwall. And they said at the premiere that they had at Lambeau Field, they said that Craig was not only a guy who jumped at the script, and they didn't even think they would get him. They sent it to his agent. They sent it to his manager thinking, oh, we'll never get Craig. And you can listen back to the Cripescast I had with them to hear that full story. But then Craig not only said yes, but on his first day of shooting with them, he looked around after they did their first take and said, where's the other camera? And there wasn't one. And so Craig said, all right, I'm going to take care of another camera. That's not like an inexpensive thing to do, but he got another camera on board for the film. And if you're in the film business, you know that can be like a night and day difference based on the quality of the film, the amount of coverage you can get and everything. So just a guy who puts his heart and soul into this film. And it was fun to sort of hear his perspective of what this film meant to him and why it was so important for him to do it and do it in the way that he did. So I think you guys are going to enjoy this conversation. And also, before we jump into that, I want to let you know, and I'm going to butcher, I'm telling you right now, I'm just going to butcher this name. But I want to say on behalf of PTO at Kosciuszko Elementary School in Cudahy. And I'm sorry, you guys, if I mispronounced that. I don't know if that's Polish or what, but I probably screwed the pooch on the name. But anyway, on June 14th, there's a meat raffle at Joe's K Ranch. There's auction, there's sand volleyball, there's old fashions. You get the deal. And this is going to benefit the public schools serving a bunch of low-income families. It's going to help with field trips, supplies, books, and winter gear. And for God's sakes, it's a meat raffle. Do you really need an excuse to get to a meat raffle? I'm going to go ahead and say no. All right. So get on over there and support them. You're going to be doing a good thing, and you might just win yourself some nice cuts of meat there. Okay. Do they have bingo? I don't know. But really, you don't need to hear any more of the meat raffle. Anything else after that is a bonus. So that's your little ad read for this week. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. Here is my conversation with Craig T. Nelson. How you been? You been good since I last saw you?
Yeah, I think I'm okay. Yeah, you know, yeah. Well, now, okay. Well, I'm okay.
Okay, all right. I won't pry into the things that are coming up right now. You never know. It could be a bad breakfast. So we'll just leave.
No,
it
I had
at
had a great breakfast and with my wife, and we shared some a letter that she received, and that was wonderful. Had a good night last night, so everything's cool.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Hey, I've got nothing but just incredible response from the Green and Gold film, and I mean, it's doing well on Rotten Tomatoes, even, like a 98% audience score. You don't see that a whole lot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not.
you don't even look at it.
I don't. No, I don't.
That stuff doesn't matter to you. You set it and you forget it, kind of a thing.
No, you don't forget it, but it's not important in terms of the relevance it has to what you've done. I don't think it. Uh, I mean, I felt pretty good about it when we did it, and so I guess you just leave that to whatever's going to be decided, whatever people are going to see, they're going to react to, and hopefully, what you've done, and I've seen it, of course. It was everything that I thought it could be at the time. So, I just kind of let it go from that point on.
Well, I'm here to report to you that people do like it a lot. So just in case, but part of it is like, you think about like, why does this resonate so much? And I think like in this super technological age where people are spending so much time kind of on their phones or whatever, this video sort of shows you like, not just a different time, but a different way of thinking in that time, and what about that and that story kind of made you want to jump in and take such a critical role in the film?
Well, there were a lot of aspects to it for me. The relationship he has with the family, with Buck, his inability to express himself, and I think a feeling of despair that was creeping into his life was contrasted with his love for what he was doing and his appreciation for the nature that he was surrounded with and he lived with. And I think he nurtured that, but at the same time, it was like an outside force that was, in a way, not cognizant of any of that. And in a relationship from outside that was built on money and greed, if you will, and a non-appreciation. I thought that story was interesting. Also, I thought the feeling of isolation was particularly important in today's culture. It's funny that you mentioned that the technological advances. I think what it's done is more than anything separate us from each other. We don't communicate like we used to. I think when you're doing it through a device and you're not with the person, or you're not actually living in the situation that they're in, we can make and do make judgments based on information that's not complete, whole, or even not only adequate, but that has any relevance to the spirit of each other. And so I just felt that his trying to correct a mistake he made in his life with his daughter, and then trying to achieve some kind of victory or success with his granddaughter, for him was very, very important. And he just didn't know how to express it very well.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of things in that. But I thought uniquely the script really, I thought, captured an essence that was kind of inside the not the superficiality, but I thought the covering of the story itself was, okay, here it is. It's set here. This is who it is. It's 4th, 5th generation farm. This is what the guy does. This is what he's, But inside of all of that was this machination of his marriage, his family, the past, his relationship to the land, and also to the difficulty he was involved in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you yourself, you kind of, you mentioned this at the premiere, but you have a connection to Wisconsin and to farming yourself. Can you kind of let people know what that is?
My great-grandfather, Gulbrand Nielsen, it was changed to Gilbert Nelson. They settled in Ettrick, Wisconsin, which is on the west side of Wisconsin, not too far away from Eau Claire.
Yeah.
And just a little west of Baraboo, where Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Circus originated, I believe.
Yeah, you're right.
in Durham. But anyway, they settled in Ettrick, and they lived there for about 7, 8 years, and established a Lutheran church there, and eventually moved into South Dakota.
I like how you
And
gave Lutheran the Wisconsin accent right there. Lutheran, you know.
it's the only it's the only Wisconsin accent I'm capable of doing. Yeah, so they moved to South Dakota, and this is like 1870 in there. I mean, he served in the Civil War and was given a plot of land, and so he established a farm, which is ongoing today, and it's still there. And then my wife's family is also settled in South Dakota, and they were like in a place called Fernie, and that's not too far away from Volga and South Dakota. And so we have that connection. But yeah, it was in the family, and although it wasn't talked about much, and I explored it much later in my life to find out exactly, hey, wait a minute, my relatives settled here. And so I went back to a family reunion and got acquainted with a history that was really, really important.
Yeah, that's cool. Did you do that kind of, did you do that separate of this film, or did you do that sort of in preparation for the film?
No, I had done it all prior. I had been writing a book, and so I went to Ettrick. Was doing a speaking engagement in Milwaukee, and I drove from Milwaukee to Ettrick because I wanted to find out what is the lay of the land. What did they do? What they do there? And so I went, and this really pretty area, and it was really a wonderful experience. So, and I talked to some of the people and went to a couple of the churches that I thought maybe my family had been involved with. I wasn't quite sure. I had an idea roughly. So it was an experience of what do you do when it's kind of like cellular memory, if you will. I'd gone back to Oslo, and then I went to Ringsaker, Norway, where they came from. They came, which is in the eastern side of Norway, just below Lillehammer. And the area was the area where he came from with his family. He had 5 children at the time, before. And the area is absolutely beautiful. And it was like, when I say cellular memory, I mean, when I got there to the place, it was like going home. It was the smell, the look of the place was like exactly where I was raised. And I could understand somewhat why it was particularly important for them to find a place that was familiar.
Yeah.
And because it made it not only more comfortable, but I think it, again, was not reminiscence or memory, but it sustained a lifestyle that was in their blood, if you will, in the genetics. So,
yeah, no, I mean, that's interesting when you talk about sort of that cellular kind of memory of how it like kind of gets passed down generations, and it sort of makes you feel connected to not just a history, but sort of all people generally, and I think that's kind of another thing that the film kind of brings together is just that we are all connected, even a Bears fan and a Packers fan,
yeah.
I don't want to give too much away in the film, but you even find a connection, an authentic connection with that guy, the guy trying to take your farm, and our Buck trying to take Buck's farm, and it's interesting. It's fun to see, and I also love, like, it's a dramatic film, but I love the sort of comedy that kind of comes through in the drama. Like, one of my favorite scenes is when you're cutting off that bear's tie, just the whole dynamic around that. It reminded me of like something my grandpa would do or whatever in that moment. I think so much of the film kind of reminds people of their family, but specifically on like the comedy within it, that's subtle, but there. I mean, with so much comedy in your background, How do you approach like a dramatic role like that, and find those moments of comedy?
Well, I think it's easier for a comedic actor to go and authentically, I think, portray a dramatic character. And I say that because I think in comedy, when it's done well, if it's not done superficially, although there's certainly validity in doing it that way, I'm not decrying that. But I think when you're getting, at least from my experience, comedy is born out of confrontation and conflict. And I think the most bitter people I've ever met are some of the finest comedians that I've.
Isn't that interesting how that works?
They have they have such a take on life, and it's just wonderful. I mean, it's beautiful. I remember it to me it is because their ability to adjust to the tragedy of it as they have witnessed life in its fullness for them. Their ability to take that and then to manifest a sense of sarcasm and satire and a kind of take on it that is not only enjoyable but very true, is that we're caught up in this world that we just don't understand. I mean, there's just some great traditional, if you will, comics that have done that, reflecting an attitude or whatever, a societal problem, and it spans also generationally and ethnicity. So I enjoy it so much in that regard. So I think they have inherently been able to overcome a situation, or at least adjust to or compensate for a life of oftentimes tragedy, in a way that is funny. To slip into something dramatic is not difficult, I don't think, at all for a comedic actor. I thought, for instance, Don Rickles is a wonderful dramatic actor. And I'm trying to think of the submarine movie he did, and he was absolutely fantastic in it. And there was a couple of more dramatic films that he did, but he was really good. And most of the guys I've known, like Tim Conway, could easily adapt into a pathos that he could make funny, but at the same time there was an edge to it that was very interesting. So a lot of them. It just seems like you can slip into it. Is it an understanding or an overview or compensation for something? Who really cares if you're able to deliver it? The other thing about it is, I remember doing Our Wilderness in Lincoln Center in New York, and I always thought it was very light. Eugene O'Neill. Our Wilderness takes place just before one of his more dramatic plays, and is about the same family. Both are about the same family. One deals with an addiction later on that is very tragic and it's ugly in a way. And then you've got this prior Wilderness, which is a study of that family, so to speak, prior to this kind of despair that sets in. And it was just on a very fine line between the two. It was like a moment in time. And that's exactly, I think, how it is. It's like Buck is unable, I think, to respond in any other way except tragically, in the sense of loss. He's lost. And how deep has he gone into that pattern of despair and self-pity, if you will? Can he recover from it? And that moment with the banker gave him a respite. It just gave him a moment of, hey, I still have a sense of humor in me, but boy, it's hard to find. It's really.
And holding a knife too, the juxtaposition of it is hilarious.
Yeah. And he says something very interesting too. He says, hey, guess what? I can snap at any minute,
just to keep him on his toes,
Yeah.
And the little bit of struggle with the knife to cut it off too. I just
You
thought
know,
that was
it's so funny that you said that. You always want to go back and redo something. I tried to get them to sharpen that knife. They were so worried that I was going to slip and cut cut its throat. Please, I'm not going to take 5 minutes to cut the doggone tie. It's not worth it. Plus, the knife should be sharp. Who carries around a dull knife? What do you get?
right. Right. It's funny though, because there's always that knife in the toolbox or whatever that's just duller than hell, and you're like, exactly, but you're just kind of too lazy to sharpen it, so you bring it out or whatever. But exactly, that's funny. We call this the Cripescast, and one of the reasons is because we ask everyone, what makes you say cripes? So you got anything that kind of is making you say cripes these days?
Well, societal. I think the madness that's occurring. I since adjusted the word cripes to rats.
Yeah.
Rats. But what the heck? Cripes, it's still the same thing. I mean, it's the angst that is ongoing, I think, with everybody. And it's like interesting that again, addressing the film in regards to this is like, I think it's built into that. I think, and you kind of brought this up in the beginning, I think one of the things that's so interesting about the movie to me is that he removes himself. Buck, and I must say, before I even continue on this, the other actors in this movie are marvelous, by the way.
Oh my God, phenomenal!
A lot of them are Wisconsinites, if you will, and or Wisconsinese.
We'll take either one. Wisconsinese is the language, by the way, just so you know.
But they were marvelous, and it was really neat and a pleasure to get to know a lot of them, and to get to know what their belief systems are and what's going on in their families, especially the farmers. But I think what you brought up earlier was a little touch of the fact that the isolation that Buck feels, the loneliness, if you will. I mean, he feels completely separate and apart from, as if he's struggling against the whole world. That kind of thing. I think, for me, that's a reflection of what a lot of people are feeling right now in their lives. It was interesting to me because of technology. I mean, I see more and more, the cell phone use, my phone's ringing. I just soon leave it at home, but I'm not of that generation that utilized it to the point you guys have. So that was interesting. I'm here, you're there. We don't really communicate except like this,
right?
And
no, it's screen to screen. It's like technology's a lot like road rage. Like you're in a car, someone cuts you off, you're just screaming all sorts of things you can't say at church at the dude, whereas if you're walking and someone accidentally cuts you off, it's like, oh, sorry. In the Midwest, you'll apologize to someone if they step on your foot, like if you have that person to person interaction, it's a different story than if you're separated by, the car is a piece of technology, but you're so much more ready to like attack someone when you're seeing them right here and not right here.
Right. And it's also like Buck's relationship to animals and his compassion for them and his care is not transferred necessarily to humans, to people. And I also found that interesting, is that his relationship with his cows, they're all named, they all have personalities, and along with the other, the pigs, and then Luna, the owl that he lets go. His relationship to the land and to the animals is very functional and very real and very impassioned, and it seems to come naturally. It seems to flow naturally for him. But his interaction with people is lost, and yet we're looking at a guy that's not necessarily involved in technology at all, but it is a tendency of us, I believe, to go internal and not express ourselves. The stoicness of it all.
Yeah.
And also fighting that tradition of what is it to be a man? The only way he was able really to defend his granddaughter is other than, I think, malign her in some ways and denigrate her talent musically. Not that he was doing it to her, but that was like a history that he'd had with his own daughter that he was reliving. I mean, he's just expressing that. But I think the fact that he says to the country western singer that comes into her life and enjoys her music and how she writes, and he has that stay at the house, and he says, you do anything to harm her, I'll gut you like a 10-pointer. Is gone from this kind of stoicness into I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, right. He's got the momentary lapse of he can't help himself,
Yeah, we'll go from here. You're really welcome to stay over for the night, but you do anything to me, I'm going to kill you, just so you know.
Yeah. But it's funny. It's funny you bring up like his kind of how he cares, about the animals. It's almost like his choice to not like engage in technology or whatever, that isolated him. So it's almost like had he engaged more, maybe he would be less isolated. Although as a farmer, you're kind of isolated no matter how you cut it, just geographically, But it's a lot of just fun dynamics to see. But the one piece of technology that he does indulge in is the Green Bay Packers. And that's something that resonates with all of us in Wisconsin. What did you find about the Packers kind of going through this whole thing? Like, were you a Packers fan before, and did you come out a Packers fan after?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been a Packers fan for years. Why? Because they're the Green Bay Packers. I don't know. They just, their uniforms were great. I mean, I was a fan, when I was repossessing sewing machines in LA. And
wait, pause. You got to explain that a little bit. You're repossessing sewing machines?
Yeah, my job was, I originally worked at Sears, but they had too many people in the sewing department. And I wasn't really facile with sewing machines at the time anyway. I didn't care less. But I was trying to earn a living, starving. And so I got a job at Singer Sewing Machine, and they give you a van and a bunch of sewing machines and vacuums. And you have a job of going out on leads. We're doing Glengarry, Glen Ross here. Do you have a lead? Yeah, I got a lead. So you go out and you show up. But in the process, there are machines out there that are not being paid for. In other words, people have taken them, bought them, and they're not making their payments. So one of your jobs is to repossess. And first of all, I'm not a salesman. I cannot sell anything. I'm the worst at it. That's a go-to. So now I'm going to try to not only sell them, but I'm repossessing them. And I'm the worst at that because I don't want to take anything that people have used. And plus, I really don't belong in their neighborhood anyway.
Right.
So the experience of doing that, was an education in itself. This is after the Watts riot. I'm working in South LA. I'm living at Slauson and Crenshaw, which is the heart of South LA. And I'm encountering this group of people that I hadn't spent time with in my childhood, and I find them to be warm and engaging, and it was like an eye-opening experience for me, and I really enjoyed it. And at the same time, I'm trying to take sewing machines from them that they haven't paid for.
Jeez, what a brutal gig, man.
It was, but it was, I get invited in for dinner more than I did repossess anything or lunch. Okay. Because the obvious thing is, putting, I ended up putting my foot in the door, and they're saying, "What are you doing?" And then they call for help, and that could turn ugly. So rather than doing that, I learned that real quick. Rather than doing that, I opted to go in on invitation for something to eat. And of course, that was a ploy to get me something to eat and then get out, because you got to be thankful for that. Well, listen, I'll come back. And so that all worked. Needless to say, the Green Bay Packers are playing the LA Rams at the LA Coliseum. Bart Starr's the quarterback, Johnny Anderson the halfback, Paul Horning's retired, I think, at that point. Boyd Daller's still at fuzzy third. Vince Lombardi is coaching. Come on.
Wow.
It's a warm fall day in LA. And I got my Singer van, and there's a parking place. I just happened to be driving by the Coliseum, and there's a parking place. Wow. And I'm loaded with sewing machines and stuff, but come on. So I don't have a ticket, but I somehow get in.
Wow.
I talked to the guy, the ticket, and I somehow had enough salesman in me. Probably I was crying.
Yeah.
And I get in, and I see a game that's just phenomenal. Roman Gabriel's the Rams quarterback. Bertie Casey's playing flanker. Let's see, Dick. I forget that. I forget the fullback. Great. Anyway, and it was just phenomenal. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's incredible. I thought you were going to say the guy at the ticket counter owed you a sewing machine or something. So maybe.
Yeah, I mean, however I got, but it was like, so that was in 68 or 69, somewhere in there. It might have been earlier, but it was the most phenomenal game.
Yeah.
And I've been a Packers fan so when we did the movie and you get to meet Packers fans, and you totally get it, because it's homespun, it's our team, it's root for the pack. It has a genesis to it. It has a tradition. It's got meaning. It means something to us.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a business as much as it is a kind of co-op,
Right.
And that makes it wonderful. That makes it meaningful. That makes it part of me.
Yeah.
As a Wisconsinite.
Yeah. Wisconsinese.
And those people. And
yeah.
So, I mean, you totally get it. And it totally made sense. The fact that other people don't understand it, or wouldn't understand it, or don't have that same, they're not, fixated on it, if you will. They live and die with the Packers, or their team, their particular team, it speaks to, I think, why the Packers are so successful, regardless of a season. They just are wonderful to watch, and they're important. They're important.
They live in people's souls, and I don't know if that's because you can own part of the team and people feel this collective ownership, but whether they own it or not, the community owns it, and that brings a different sense into the game and into the fandom, And I know we don't have. I know we only have you for a half hour, but I just wanted to throw this last question at you if you have a second. What was it like singing the national anthem at Lambeau Field? And then kind of sitting in the jump zone after that.
Oh my gosh. How can I explain this and make it? Well, I think Anders contacted me. Anders, the director and I think co-writer. They contacted me out. The Packers were interested in getting involved with the movie because they liked what it had to say. So Anders asked me, the possibility exists that they may want you to sing the national anthem. Would you be interested? And I thought, national anthem on a very minimal level. I'm thinking, well, that would really be something. I mean, I didn't understand at all, really, or imagine the scope that would. Hey, yeah, sure, national anthem, yeah, okay. So I said okay, and then. They came back, the Packers came back and said, well, you got to audition. And I thought, well, why? You should just pick me.
Right.
I can. Oh, they want an audition. So I had a friend that comes to a Thursday meeting I have here at the house, and he's a recording engineer and has been one, and also a player, lead guitarist for some huge groups. I don't want to mention his name because he requests to be anonymous, I think. But he's wonderful. And we went to a recording studio. Gee, I'm going on a lot here. I'm doing a lot of talking.
Oh,
I apologize. Anyway.
no, that's the point. Yeah, well, I'm talking to you. No one wants to hear from me. Come on.
Well, cripes, I'm really. So we went to a recording studio up here in Malibu, where I live, down the road, and it's called Shangri-La, and it's been here since the '70s. And I mean, Dylan has recorded there, Fleetwood Mac.
Wow.
No, I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Real Young. I mean, it just goes on. It goes on. The people that have recorded there, and I didn't even know it was there. So John takes me down there, and I'm recording in this studio with these, icons, and it's like he takes me on a tour of it. It's a beautiful facility. It's like, anyway. So we do the audition, and I sent it up, and it was like, well, they said yes. Well, now the pressure's on. So I'm practicing in the backyard. I'm practicing, walking down the street. I'm practicing in the car. I'm rehearsing.
Yeah.
And we finally, the date comes January 6th, and I think I've got the keys down because it's a hard song to sing. You got to hit and I'm in the hotel and I'm practicing, and I'm rehearsing in the lobby, and I see these people looking at me, and I'm singing, like I would sing. And then I go outside and it's like 9 degrees, and I, come back in, I'm saying, who can live in this weather? I certainly can't sing in it. So that's got me worried. So I come back in the lobby, and the concierge says politely, not that you don't have a good voice, but could you stop rehearsing?
Are you serious?
It was nice. Okay. Didn't hurt my feelings. So I'm trying to find a place, like, can I go on the elevator and sing real quickly before it goes up a floor and people at the doors? Well, so I'm trying. And that was the prelude. So I get there, and then you're in Lambeau Field. And it's cold. I think it was 10 degrees.
Yeah.
And the fans are moving in. They're walking down the streets. We took a side street. You see them getting ready. They're going to play the Chicago Bears. You're going to sing the national anthem. And I was too cold to be nervous. So the beauty of it was being in Lambeau Field, coming out of the tunnel where the Green Bay Packers, over the centuries, if you will, and I'm kidding, but over the years had thousands of them. Ray Nitschke had come through that same tunnel, Bart Starr, all of them. Had walked through that tunnel and spent time, and you're coming out onto the field, and the fans are right there, and they're in this weather packed together. They only have one coat between them because they're so close. They can put on the other sleeve and they'll be fine. I mean, it's just amazing there. And some got cheese things on there and whatever, and they're yelling at, and it's 75,000 of them, or however many there were. And so we were, and then you sing and you do it, and then the jets fly over and you're done. And you're going, I just did something that I need to remember, but I don't remember much of it at all. It's just the closeness of the fans, and then the feeling of just having such a great time with these people. It was marvelous. And then going to the sideline and meeting some of the players and realizing how young they are.
Oh yeah.
I mean, somehow I thought I'd be, like maybe 30-year-olds were. No, these are 19, 20-year-old kids.
Right.
And it's like, you're going to hit each other in this weather? You know, and it had gone up to 12, and one guy says, it's balmy.
A balmy 12 degrees at Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was so fun though. So fun watching you do it, and what a game to do it at. And you know, it's one of those things where you're so in the moment. How can you remember to remember it? You know?
Yeah.
Well, that was cool. Well, I mean, congratulations on that, and congrats on the film. And just, you know, I'm also impressed that you even brought the second camera to the film. You're the reason that was there. It's cool that you believe in these independent films so much that you do that, and it means a great deal to Wisconsin. So on behalf of all the Wisconsinese out there, I say thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Good to see you, by the way.
Good to see you too. Yeah, hope to see you again soon. Thanks for taking the time.
You got it.
All right. Take care now.
You too.
All right, watch for deer. Bye-bye. Folks, that's all the time we have for this week. Huge thanks to Craig for coming on the show. Make sure you follow the Cripescast anywhere you get your podcasts. And also make sure you go check out the film Green and Gold. Again, you can stream that wherever you stream your movies. So it's on Amazon Prime, YouTube, the whole deal, Apple, whatever. But you can get it. It is out now. And hope you enjoy. We'll see you guys next time. Watch out for deer.
So roll out the barrel and get the band brewing. Life's got you down, just keep her moving. It's on Wisconsin, the Badgers say it's the old Wisconsin Jubilee. You know, sometimes when you're ice fishing, you put your foot in the walleye hole and go ass over tea kettle and you think you're done. No, you gotta keep her moving.